Laced Up Nation was really good though. You already know why I'm here. Episodes 3 and 4 of The Last Dance. Let's get it popping. Let's just get straight into it. So where else can we start? You see me wearing the Pistons jersey number 10. We gotta start with my boy Rodman, man. And with Rodman, I want to get into a bunch of stuff, but we gotta start with the Vegas story. Okay, so he goes to Vegas in the middle of the season, man. Obviously, like, how crazy would that be nowadays? How many? You know how we talk about, we say that phrase, oh, this is gonna break the internet, or that broke the internet, or this melted the internet. I think quite literally that may have broke the internet. Okay, one of the most famous dudes in the world, most recognizable, definitely, on the most popular team in the world, in the middle of Vegas, just in the middle of a season. Like, how crazy would that have been? Oh my goodness, can't imagine who would have showed out there, all the videos that we would have saw of him going crazy. And then he was dating like a super famous, she's like a, porn actress. She was in Playboy. I don't know what she did, but and then dating another high profile person, like craziness, man. Just wild. And I love seeing, the best part of that whole sequence was when they started episode 4 and it was still not a play by Big Pun was playing. And then he was just wilding out in the club. That was perfect. That was a perfect music selection. But honestly, the most impressive, or the craziest thing about that story is, if you ever want to doubt or get confirmation of how good Dennis Rodman was, or how the importance he was to the team, that all you gotta do is remember that Michael Jordan was running through Vegas. There's no NBA team in Nevada. He was running through Vegas, searching for Dennis Rodman, like he was in this hangover or something, and got into his room, into his bed, and pulled him out, even though he was in the bed with Carmen Electra. Pulled him out, got him back to practice. That's crazy, bro. That's the craziest part of that story to me. But yeah, man, Dennis Rodman, man, he's one of my favorites of all time, and obviously he was probably the focal point of these last couple of series episodes, and obviously we all know him for all the outlandish, crazy things that happened, when he married himself later on, and just all those crazy stories. We all know that, but I'm really happy that they went into a little bit about his play on the court and how serious he took it. My man's mastered rebounding. Like, there may be another person in NBA history who has got more rebounds. Will's probably got more rebounds, all those, but I don't think anybody else mastered it, the art of it, like he did. You gotta remember, he's only like 6'6", 6'7", he's playing pretty much center, power forward. And you don't do that, you don't get to that level without loving the game. You saw him talking about how he would go in there and just practice people shooting from all angles and trying to get the right angle. He knew right when the ball left your hand, he looked at the spin, he looked at the trajectory. He do all that in his head, and he knows where the ball's gonna go. Oh, he knows Larry Bird's gonna shoot from the wing. He knows where it's gonna go. Larry Bird's gonna shoot from this elbow. He knows where it's going. He knows where Michael. Everybody. He had it all studied out. You saw the clips of him watching film, studying. I think that all that type of stuff gets lost because of all the outside of basketball stuff, or even inside the basketball, how he played, and the way he looked and all that. My man's was super dedicated to the game, and he's a perfectionist, man. He's a perfect rebounder. He loves the game, man, and I'm really glad that they went into it a little bit of how, not even just how that, but like how smart you have to be able to understand all those concepts. You saw how good he was defensively. Michael said that he was one of the best defenders he ever played with, because he understood angles, he understood trapping concepts, he understood doubling, everything. He knew he perfected defense, he perfected rebounding, and that's just not something that can just be overlooked or understated. Man, shout out to Dennis Rodman. I also liked how they went into a little bit. Obviously, they focused on they they did a pretty good job on Dennis. I would like to I'd like to say. I mean, I wish we did see a little bit more of the crazy stories. There's a whole bunch of them you can YouTube. There's one with Steve Kerr on the Open Court series from TNT. You go look that up on TNT or on YouTube. But yeah, I wanted to hear a little bit more of the wild, crazy stories. But I am glad they got into a little bit about how he was actually struggling as a person. You know what I mean? He was dealing with a lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff that was going on, you could see were just classic signs of depression. Just being lost, being not knowing what to do, looking for an outlet, and just really having a whole bunch of anger inside of him, not really knowing what to do with that anger and just acting out because you don't know what to do. And then, you know, it was funny. They kind of made it seem like Madonna kind of freed his brain. But I think that kind of did help him because he kind of realized that I need to be myself. I need to be who I am, and I need to be happy, and I need to take care of myself. And I do think that ended up helping him because maybe that led him to make a lot more bad decisions, or it led him to be perceived in a certain way. But I do think it made him more comfortable with himself, more free. And the only problem there is that while you're being like that, while you're being more eccentric, more who you are, what makes you happy, that makes other people alienate you a little bit more. So in the eyes of other coaches or the other players, especially other front offices, they don't want nothing to do with you, you know. And so even before he went all like quote unquote crazy, Chuck Daly understood, okay, this is a different type of cat, and we need to treat him a little bit different, and he needs different parameters around him. You know, that one coach was trying to get on Dennis, and Chuck Daly was like, you know what, nah, like, let him go, bro. He's cool. Like, he gonna be all right. And so then this leads right into the other thing that I want to talk about is just how him and Phil Jackson were like the perfect marriage. And I think that obviously when you think about all these Bulls teams, you think about Jordan, you think about Scottie, you think about Phil, and you think about Pippen or Rodman, right? And then you start thinking about everybody else. But out of those four, I think Phil and Rodman get the least amount of credit. And when you think about it, Phil Jackson is just the perfect coach for Rodman and the perfect coach for the team because he's a guy who takes time to understand his players, to really care about his players, and really understand how to maximize all of the strengths that all of these guys have, put it all together, and use that for the team's success. That is why I think that Phil is actually the best coach of all time, because and they indirectly kind of showed the difference between a good coach and a great coach in this. So shout out Doug Collins. You know, I love Doug Collins. He's a super funny guy, but you know, he was a good coach. I think he came in and he tried to understand what is the strength of this team? What do we do really well? Obviously the answer to that is Michael Jordan. That is the best thing that we do. A good person, a good coach looks at that situation and says, hey, we're gonna maximize this. We're putting all our eggs into this basket and we're gonna live and die with that. And he did that. They started to have a lot of success, especially when you have something as great as Michael Jordan. It's reasonable to have that. But a great coach, a great mind comes in and says, yes, we have this strength, and we're always going to have it, but how do we discover the strengths of everybody else and exploit the things that we're not using? How come Scottie's only averaging 9 points a game, right? How come, right? Horace Grant was on the team. Like, how do we exploit that? And how do we use Paxson? You know, like, so all these strengths that we have, we're not using them. So I think that's a clear-cut difference between somebody who's a good coach and somebody who's somebody who sits down, figures out their players, and not just figures them out just because whatever, but, you know, really gets to know them, really understands. And that's what I mean specifically with Dennis Rodman. That helped him because he knew that sometimes, you know what, he does need this 48-hour break to go to Vegas. He does know that. He did have faith, and ultimately it worked out. He came back and he was good. There's other stories about how he used to let him not come sometimes to practice or whatever, or you know, there's a bunch of stuff like that. But he really takes the time to understand his players, and that's why that's what I think sets him apart. Another quick thing on Rodman that they showed in there too is just how crazy of an athlete he was, man. Like, I think he might be one of the freakiest athletes we've ever seen in the NBA and in sports, period. To not have any conditioning time, being away from the team for a few days, who knows what he was doing. And this, like I said, this isn't the only story. There's other stories, not sleeping all night, doing whatever, and still playing 48 minutes. Craziness, man. The last thing quickly I want to touch on is just, I can never stop being awed by the greatness of Michael Jordan's mentality, his ferocity, all of that, man. Like, and I know that this whole series is about that, and they're gonna highlight this. And you know what? This isn't the first time that I've heard this, but every time I hear it, every time I see it, I'm just awed. I'm impressed. And yes, I am a fanboy. Whatever. I don't care. And like, whatever. Forget y'all. But to get beat up by the Jordan rules, by the Pistons, and that last time when they lost, and just being around him and the mentality and the energy that he provided and output, his teammates were just like, that clearly rubbed off on his teammates. You can't tell me that it didn't, and you can't tell me it wasn't the reason they all were just like, all right, we lost, let's get to work, let's do this, because they knew they were together with Michael. And not only just having it rub off on your teammates, like, you can be around great guys, great people who make you want to be better, but getting them actually, like, putting pressure on your teammates and getting them actually to respond in the correct way, even if sometimes you gotta yell at them or whatever. Like I said, I know this is nothing new to anybody, but I just really always am impressed by all of that. So yeah, man, shout out Michael, man. I'm really having fun watching these series, watching these episodes, man. A couple other quick points with the Pistons. I'm not really salty about it. I was alive back then, but I was a baby, right? So I don't really have that rivalry or hatred for the Pistons. But yeah, Mike hates he hates them. I mean, he really, I think it was kind of salty and not a good move to not shake hands. But at the end of the day, it's whatever, man. I don't even care about that. Another quick point, sometimes we always talk about how MJ, Pippen, and Rodman are the three stars of that team. And they're all really good defensive, but sometimes you think about Scottie Pippen being kind of the best defender out of the three, but he's the only one to not win a defensive player of the year award. So I don't know, something to think about. And what else? Oh yeah, the Pistons, the Jordan rules. Is that cheating? Was that cheating? Are those tactics allowed? What do you guys think? Sound off in the comments. And finally, man, Jerry Krause, once again, he's just sabotaging anything just because he wants glory, man. Man, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forgive him, bro. I mean, at the end of the day, we won 6 championships, what could I say, right? But he ruined the ending for me, dog. He ruined the ending for me and for all the Bulls fans of all time. A Bulls fan wearing a Pistons shirt, right? But shout out Dennis Rodman. Like I said, I'm just having a lot of fun watching these, having a lot of fun reviewing and thinking about the things to say on here. Yeah, sound off in the comments anything you think I missed or wanna go in on, or anything you think I'm just like super tripping about. Let me know. Like always, I love y'all. Shout out to everybody who loves us. Shout out Pete. Peace.